This is Valerie Hector, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a 120 bead sphere, okay? If you've made a beaded sphere in the past, chances are it's a 90 bead sphere, also invented in China and first published in the United States in my book, The Art of Beadwork, Historic Inspiration, etc. You can get a copy at your library or check out Amazon. There might be a copy for very little. Anyway, it was Laura Shea, a beader actually who lived in the Chicago area at the time I was writing this book, and she agreed to share her recipe for this 90 bead sphere, okay, the smaller of the two spheres. Now, I was finding versions of this structure in China at that time. This is, this is about 25 years ago now. While Laura, she had initially found a beaded bead, a Chinese beaded pearl bead somewhere, and decided to keep going and explore all known geometric structures, or many of them, by beading them in beads, okay? So Laura very generously shared her secrets for making the 90 bead sphere in my book a long time ago in 2005. And these are some of the diagrams, okay? Really complex. Now, I love the 90 bead sphere, okay? I'm the first person to love it. I also love the 30 bead sphere, okay? Which I'm sure you already know how to make, all right? Then these both are beautiful. The 30 bead is easy. The 90 bead I find difficult. After all these years, I've made dozens, if not hundreds. I still get lost from time to time. Now, that will never happen. I almost never happen with the 120 bead sphere. Why is that? Because I've figured out how to bead it symmetrically, creating a top, a bottom, and then stitching them together. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, you can't do that. You can't bead the 90 bead sphere symmetrically, as far as I know, right? And so it's harder. All right, now where did I learn these structures? In China. This 120 bead sphere I found on this little plastic bead gourd that I collected probably 25 years ago in China. And the top of the gourd is the Chinese beaded oval. As I've mentioned in past videos, I just abstracted this structure and created the oval, which had of course been created by Chinese beaders. And then at the bottom is a 120 bead sphere, okay? Super simple, so easy to learn, you won't even believe it. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, the 120 bead sphere begins with a ring of 5 beads, okay? All you have to do is string 5 beads, and I wouldn't make a knot. You can if you want to, it's okay. I would just keep stitching around and around and around this ring of 5 beads until the thread catches, but you know that already, right? All right, now I'm going to attach this new thread here. You'll just keep using the same thread you were already using to create this ring of 5 beads, okay? I am adding on a new thread, just getting it anchored, getting it secure. Any thread will work. I'm using a size 10 needle. All right, and what we're going to do now is, this is row 1, it's done. We're going to make row 2. Row 2 consists of 5 rings of 6 beads each. All of the rings share beads, as you know. If you've done any of these techniques in the past, you know the concept. All rings share beads. Okay, so this, you can come out of any bead, it doesn't matter which one. And to create a ring of 6 beads, I'm going to string 5 beads. And then I'm going to put the needle, insert the needle back through the bead we came out of, okay? And then I'm going to pull slowly, and there's our first ring of 6 beads, okay? Now we're going to navigate over, insert the needle through the next bead in the original ring of 5 beads and pull. We're getting into position to add the second ring of 6 beads. 2 beads are already in place for this ring, so all we have to do is add 4. And if you're not sure which bead to go into at this point, if you're not a professional beader, like so many of you are, play this game, Ask the Beads. You string on the number of beads you think you need, and then bend the thread around to see where does it create a ring of 6, okay? And so I just found out that the ring of 6 can be created by going through this bead here. Now the game of Ask the Beads rarely lets you down, all right? So I'm going back through, and I don't know why I can't get through this next bead. There we go. I'm going through the 2 beads to create a ring of 6 beads. Okay, that's all this is. Navigate over 1 bead in the original ring of 5. Pull. Add 4 more beads to create the next ring of 6. Go through this bead. We're picking up the previous ring of 6 beads, and we're picking up the bead we just came out of, and we're pulling, okay? So now we have 3 rings of 6 beads. I'm just going to snip these tail threads so they're out of the way, okay? We only have 2 more rings of 6 to add. Navigate over 1 bead in the original ring of 5 beads. Add 4 more beads. Put the needle down through one of the beads in the previous ring of 6. That's this bead here. Go through the bead we just came out of and pull. All right, so now we have 4 rings of 6 beads in place. We need to build the last ring. Let's navigate over 1 bead, okay? So our goal is to connect this ring of 6 beads with this ring of 6 beads by forming another ring of 6, okay? So we know we have to pick up 1 bead from this ring and 1 bead from this ring. So let's navigate up, picking up 1 bead from the ring on the left. Now 3 beads are already in place, 1, 2, 3, for our final ring of 6 beads. So all we have to do is add 3 beads. That's it. Okay, go back down through the ring of 6 beads on the right, go through the original ring of 5, 1 bead in the original ring of 5, and go up through this bead in the left hand side ring of 6 beads. And there we have it, okay? So it's just making 5 rings of 6 beads. Really, it's a piece of cake. At this point, I would definitely stop and reinforce. I would reinforce the 5 rings in row 2 and the 1 ring in row 1. I'd reinforce them till about they're 75% full of thread, meaning the holes are 75% full of thread. And then I would move on, okay? What we're going to do next is add row 3. We're going to make 2 versions of this, rows 1, 2, and 3. 2 domes. These are like little domes. When you add row 3, then what you're creating is a kind of a dome. There are all different ways to create row 3. Do it any way you want. The way that I like to do it, because it keeps me sane, is this, okay? I say to myself, the 5 begins at the top of the 6. What does that mean? Row 3 is made of alternating rings of 5 beads and 6. 5, 6, 5, 6, etc. There are 12 rings in all, 6 rings of 5 and 6 rings of 6, okay? Here's how I do it. I navigate to the top of 1 ring of 6 beads in row 2. What does the top mean? That means the center bead at the top, okay, of any ring of 6 beads in row 2. The 5 begins at the top of the 6. To create a ring of 5, we're going to add 4 beads because 1 is in place. Go back through the bead we came out of. Pull. And here we have our first ring of 5 beads, okay? Now, because the holes in these metal beads are large, they're really generous, what I would do if I were doing this on my own is I would deposit the first ring of 5 beads here. I would jump over and make another ring of 5 beads here. Make another one here, make another one here, make another one here. And then I would go back and fill in to create the rings of 6. But I don't know, maybe you have beads whose holes are small. So I'm going to teach you a different way, okay? You're going to make the rings consecutively. So if we just made a ring of 5, now we're going to make a ring of 6, okay? We're navigating over 2 beads, okay? Pull, and now we're in position to create a ring of 6. 3 beads, 1, 2, 3, are already in place, so we only need to add 3. Want to pick up 1 bead in this ring of 5 here, and then navigate over, go through 2 beads, and pull. All right, that's our first ring of 6. Our next ring is a ring of 5. Navigate over only 1 bead. Okay. 2 beads are already in place, so all we have to do is add 3. Go back through one of the beads in this ring of 6 here. Go over 1 bead, navigate over 1 more, pull, and you've got your second ring of 5 beads. Navigate over 2 beads and pull. To create a ring of 6 beads, we only need to add 3. 1, 2, 3. Insert the needle through 1 bead in the previous ring of 5 and go through the next 2 and then pull. All right, you see how easy that is? I'll do a few more, but then I'm going to jump to the connection, installing the connection, the equator that links the 2 hemispheres or domes, okay? So you're going to get ready to do this on your own. Navigate over 1 to create the next ring of 5 beads. 2 beads are already in place, so just add 3. Great. Our next is a ring of 6 beads. Navigate over 2 beads. Okay. And pull. All right, already you can see the dome starting to form. Okay. Add 3 beads. Go through 3 and pull. All right, and so on. All right, just keep doing that same thing, installing rings of 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6 all the way around until you get to the last ring. What happens on the last ring? The last ring will be a ring of 6 beads. It'll sit right here. It'll be connecting 2 rings of 5. When you get to this point of the very last ring, 4 of the beads will already be in place for the ring, so you just add 2, all right? Do whatever you have to do to create a nice tidy ring of 6 beads for your final ring in row 3, All right, so now I'm going to move on to show you how to connect these two domes, these two hemispheres, okay? And this is what you can always find the connection point. Here's the connection point right here. It's, whoops, no, here it is right here, excuse me. It's 12 rings of 6 beads, right? See how nice, and whoops, I lost them again. Here they are. How nice and tidy they are. Okay, we can call this the equator, okay, or the meeting point. I'm going to do my best to use beads in a darker shade, a more teal shade of blue, if I can, to create the equator. All right, this is so easy. You're not going to believe it. All right, I'm going to work in another thread. Well, first, let me show you how you're going to match these up. Match them up so that they're in mirror image to one another, okay? So where you see 2 beads, a pair of beads in one side and one dome, match that up to a pair of beads in the other, okay? One thing that helps, you can sometimes kind of squish these down a little bit, right, to make them easier to work with. All right, so I'm going to attach a new thread here. Very often I don't use knots. I just wait until the thread catches, which it usually does pretty soon. Insert the needle through 1 bead in the ring of 6 here, okay? You can also start in a ring of 5, but I just find it easier to start in a ring of 6, okay? So I'm going through the northeast bead in that ring of 6, okay? And I'm pulling. All right, now match this up, okay? Where we have a 6, a ring of 6 here, we got to have a ring of 6 here, all right? Or to show you in a different way. It's a little tricky getting started, but it's not that hard, all right? A ring of 6 here and a ring of 6 here, okay? All you have to do is string 1 bead. I'm using a slightly darker shade of blue here. So here, can also kind of set it down and orient it that way. Just make sure ring of 6 here meets up with ring of 6 here, okay? Now all you have to do is, I'm making sure I'm going to go through the right one, go through the opposite bead in the opposite dome, okay? The bead that's on the opposite side, and then pull. Bit of a tangle here, that's no problem. There. Now we have 1 bead in place for the equator. We're going to add the 2nd bead, okay? We're going to go through the next bead here. Add 1 bead. And go back through the same bead on the opposite side, all right? You see how easy that is? So our first 2 beads are in place, and this is our first ring of 6 beads in the equator. From now on, doesn't matter if you go left, you go right, it doesn't matter which direction you work in. I generally find it easiest to try and hold the 2 domes together as well as possible, keeping in mind that you're just going to loosely stitch in the equator now and then tighten it up later, okay? I am going to go up through this equator bead. I'm going to navigate over 2 light blue beads. Pull. And now add 1 equator bead. Figure out where you put it in on the opposite side. You're just going mirror image. So the opposite of this bead is this bead, right? Yep. At this point, you have an option. You can go back through this ring that you just created and reinforce it, or you can just keep moving on, all right? No way is better than another way, all right? I would probably reinforce once, just so my equator holds together, and then I would move on to the next one. Again, navigate in any direction that gets you to where you're going. Where you're going is to get into position to add the next equator bead, all right? Always forming rings of 6, all right? All right, now you can already see the sphere taking shape. It will take more and more shape as we continue to stitch in these equator beads, okay? I'm going to stitch in a few more with you, and that let you work by yourself. And that's all there is to this sphere. Really, you cannot go wrong, okay? After building the initial sphere, you're going to have maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of reinforcing. A lot depends on the size of the holes in your beads and how well you want your sphere reinforced, okay? All right. Every once in a while, stop and make sure that what you've been making are rings of 6. You know, it's happened to me that sometimes I make a ring of 5. I don't know why. And I have to go back and rip it out. But this is a very forgiving technique. I mean, it wants you to succeed. It's cooperating with you every step of the way. All right. Do a tiny bit of reinforcing here. Go back through each bead in the ring. You know, you could navigate over this way. You could navigate over by going down through this equator bead. I opt for going down through the equator bead just because it gives you a little extra reinforcing. Navigate through the next 2 beads. Add 1 more equator bead, and so on. Look at your beautiful sphere. Very close to being done. No tears, you know. I like structures where they're, like, you can count on there never being any tears, you know, because they're so easy, yet they're complex and beautiful. That's what I like. Yep. All right. Yeah, I'll go up through this equator bead, and then I'm going to leave you to work on your own to finish your sphere. Okay, but look how cool that is, and this is what it will look like when it's done. It's practically there. Congratulations, you did it. You've made your first 120 bead sphere. Thank you for coming by. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.